everyone, I'm Allison. Thank you for joining me from where I'm from. 192 is Jean-Pierre. What have you been reading? I read A Live Day by Carrie Fugit. I'm pretty sure I said her last name right. It's a memoir about her experiences as a spouse to a service member, a Marine named Cleve, and his experiences, hi Jean-Pierre, in on his tours, and then once he not only the military industrial complex, but also Big Pharma. It's a great book. I really loved it. So Jean-Pierre, ooh, you're joining me. It's doing a circle. I can't see your face, but it's just doing the circle. I don't know if you can see me. Um, oh, he left. Okay. So, try again. Oh, okay. Hi. Tilt down. I can see the top of your forehead.
Oh, there we go.
Are you Jean-Pierre?
No, I'm Angie.
I know. I know you're Angie. I'm supposed to be joined by Jean-Pierre today. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you? Oh, so okay. Yeah, no, that's why I logged in.
Oh, it's funny. Sorry. It was like,
No, it's funny, haha, and funny
yes.
crazy. So,
So I'm going to accept him and see if he can
well,
join.
exactly. So,
Yeah.
so I didn't do anything.
Oh, here he
So it
is.
has to be on
Yeah,
you.
exactly.
You wanted to say hi to me.
I
I'll
did.
get
I've
off and,
missed
and go
you.
on the water.
Thank you, Sonia, for
The
joining us.
regular list.
Bye, Angie. Hi, Jean-Pierre. So it's literally just white or like gray or wall. There's
Oh,
no
let me
you.
see. Is
There you are.
that better? Oh, there you go. Now I can
Lovely.
see you.
Yeah. So did you see that I had Angie join me instead of you on accident? So that's how we started off. So apologies, everyone. This is Jean-Pierre.
Mhm. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Life is never dull.
I can't see you though. Is that
You can't see me? Okay.
no?
Well, I'm here.
Yeah.
We're both here, but apparently, I'm sorry you can't see me. I'm
That's
happy
okay.
to see you. I'll just narrate. I'm happy to see you. I'm sitting here. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm enjoying a warm pre-summer day in California. So
It's a beautiful day. We're
yeah.
both in Los Angeles, which is a really, so we've had a rough year here in Los Angeles, but I love our community and I believe we will prevail.
I believe so too.
Yeah.
It's a state that is built on resilience and
Right?
it shows, right? Unity
Yeah.
too. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also just feel sorry, Angie just wrote, and it's not my fault. I know it's her fault, it's my fault. So I invited you. Oops. I think also many, obviously not everyone, but many of the people who live here know this used to be Mexico. You know, like we're not fools. We understand, like, we weren't here first. We weren't even here second. Like, it's just relax.
Hmm.
People in the federal government, we're all just doing fine. We don't need your quote unquote help, um, which is harm.
Oh yeah.
So, um, would you like to say anything before you read your poem?
Yeah, first I just want to thank you for inviting me and
Oh
having me in
yes.
your space. I've been actually religiously looking at watching all the previous recordings
Oh,
to get to know other authors and see their work as well. So really cool what you're doing. So I appreciate that for being able to, asking me to join and being a participant.
oh, I'm so glad you're here. Adrian Ernesto, that was such a joy having him, and he's so generous with offering connections, which I appreciate in general in life, but also in writing. It's so important for us to have community and connections and to not feel alone with our stories.
Yeah, Adrian is one of my closest friends now, and I'm a huge fan of his work. We often kind of send each other poems, as that's kind of how our
Oh,
conversations
sentiment.
usually start.
Mhm.
And I've learned a lot from his style, and then just his delivery of a poem.
Mm-hmm.
It's it growing up, I didn't think there were that many poets, and thanks to IG, I recognize that there's a lot of people out there.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when I was in high school, I was probably one of the few people that wrote because, the pleasure of writing and reading, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now that I've been able to connect digitally with a lot of people, and now that there's opportunities to meet in, bookstores or readings for like an art exhibit or such,
Mm-hmm.
it's really delightful. Hopeful too.
I agree. I just was reading another memoir right now. I just finished a live day, but she was talking about one of her first writing teachers said, "Well, if you haven't written a book, you're not a writer." And I think so many of us were told different reasons we weren't writers, and I feel like I that's all just gatekeeping nonsense. And I feel like there's more of us saying that now, or that was
Yeah.
really not something that was being said at all. Like
Yeah.
people were really into the gatekeeping, really
Especially
into it.
like you need a degree to write a book.
Yeah,
That's usually
for
one that I
sure.
would always find. And even when I was high school and I would ask, people around, like teachers or even counselors, like, how do I do to write a book? Some of them will be clueless. They will tell
Mm-hmm.
me I have to take English for starters, or
Mm-hmm.
communications, or
Mm-hmm.
eventually get a certain kind of a master's, right?
Mm-hmm.
My approach to writing actually came really naturally, is because I moved from Costa Rica to the US, and I kind of started writing poetry as a way to kind of not feel stress, kind of feel some control of my immigration status.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think writing is a very powerful place to process.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, like so many forms of self-expression, the powers that be want to believe we're not allowed to participate in them as another way to, remind us or try to tell us that we're not here and we don't matter. And we do. And
Yeah.
I'm just so grateful to have this space. And once a week, I get to listen to somebody's poem. It's a
Yeah,
privilege.
it's really cool
So
because you get to interview people from all over. So
I
that's
do. It's
that's
fun.
great.
I really enjoy it.
Mhm.
Um, okay. Would you like to read your poem? It's beautiful.
Yeah, of course. Oh, thank you. Yeah. So also your prompt was really cool to
I didn't write
to
it. I say this over and over again.
Mm.
George L. Lyon told me a man named Fred first. I've never been able to find anything more than that. I'll have to ask her again next time I speak to her. But he made it, I think, really kind of on a whim, right? Because he liked George Eliot's poem. And she is truly in awe of how it has traveled the world. I just think it's such a beautiful show of how to be generous with your work.
Yeah.
Because she's just like, yeah, great. Use my poem however you want.
Yeah.
And that's like the goal, I think, as an artist, right? To touch so
Mhm.
many people's lives.
Yeah, because they turn from poetry. I always tell people that how I describe it is it's a mirror and a window. So you
Yeah,
get
yeah,
get to see inwardly and then see someone
yeah,
else's life, right?
yeah.
So I'll give you my poem. This one is
Okay.
where I am from. I am from warm, rainful nights, from Arroz con Pollo and Simpsons reruns on the TV. I am from the forest country with nameless streets, vibrant, busy, buzzing business boulevards and merchant stitch sidewalks. I am from the purple orchids, the eucalyptus trees, manzanas de agua, honey tear-shaped crimson tropical fruits, neither pear or apple. I am from lit-up Christmas midnights and my mom's deep brown eyes, from my bisabuela's nurse hands and my grandfather's whistle when he played guitar. I am from the sign language my deaf uncle taught me and his infallible memory sharing stories. I am from Good Friday processions in April's heat to translating Mass in California when I hear the priest. I am from Costa Rica's Central Valley, San Jose, and the Pacific Ocean breeze from my abuela's childhood. Emerald green plantain wrapped tamales, marinating my slow roasted pork Thanksgiving morning. From my mom missing her dad's funeral in our country, so my brother and I could dream in English. The joy of hearing my great uncle's voice telling dad jokes while teaching me how to play chess. Memory medleys in 90s video cassettes and photo albums from moments left in another world. I hold these chipped and faded things close to my heart to feel the nostalgia, river rushing through them. Thank you.
Yeah. Beautiful. I want some of those tamales, first off. A good tamale is a very special thing. Um, and so full of love, which I felt through the whole poem.
Thank you.
And what a evocative, I've never been to Costa Rica, but what an evocative poem about a place that you no longer, do you go back?
I haven't been to Costa Rica in 25 years.
Wow.
Yeah, 25 years. I came to California when I was 15. I just turned 40, and
Congratulations.
thank you.
Hmm.
And it's been 25 years since I've been to San Jose. Even now that I'm able to travel to, I can I can return, but I don't really come back. So it's an interesting feeling. So I feel like when I do go back to Costa Rica, it's not going to be the same one that is painted on this poem. I always feel like it's going to be, maybe the years have been kind to the streets, maybe they've
Hmm.
changed, but I'm not going to go back to my friends of childhood. So it's tough.
Hmm.
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 Interesting feelings, yeah.
I mean, I think nostalgia, like you said, nostalgia is like a feeling, like you say in the poem, that it's running through you. And I have had those moments too where I have tried to return, like, because I'm curious,
Mhm.
and you can't. I mean, no matter where you're returning to, it's changed. You've changed. Like all of these things have changed. But 25 years is a really long time.
Yeah, it's I feel like there's also returning emotional landmarks, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes we return to people. We're hoping to return to people that are no longer there, or maybe they
Yeah.
have really changed. I still keep in contact with friends
Hmm.
from when I grew up, and now they have children, right? I
Hmm.
left when they were kids, when we were kids, and
Hmm.
now, we're parents, and different conversations. Life has really, uh, grown since the day that I left, and but I love the United States. I love it because I was able to meet my wife here. I was able to have children here,
Hmm.
and made a career in banking, and I became a writer here. And I became a writer because of the need to find identity. And I really believe that if I had not become an immigrant, I would not have found a way to poetry the way I did.
Hmm. Do you feel like it was, because I find that people talk about journaling or writing about things that they're processing, or grief that they're processing, or people they're remembering. Like, do you think your relationship, like you're saying, of being an immigrant, like it helped you, immigrating gave you a different relationship to where you were from and to all of it, and the writing helped you make it make sense?
Yeah,
That was not
and
the most beautifully posed question.
I feel like especially poetry, because it's so urgent. I always feel like
Hmm.
that's why it's short. I feel like because it's so short, it's so urgent, like it has to pour out of you.
Yeah.
Um, I approached it because I wanted to capture what was going on in my environment,
Yeah.
and high school, the college years, becoming a father, um, all of those life-changing moments. And I feel like poetry is kind of like the bridge to storytelling, and that authentic storytelling. Because if I stand in front of a mic, people, what I'm telling them is my life, and there's a vulnerability in doing so. It's a scary vulnerability, but I love it because I feel seen. And for many years, I felt like I was not seen. I kind of lived in the shadows for many years. And what is going on right now in the country is kind of like bringing back that anxiety, that kind of fear that I had
Yeah.
when I was documented. But it also kind of makes me write even more, because I want to make sure that I can capture the moment and the moment of someone else's as they go through them from this ocean of emotions, right? Because they're so different. There's people that take that are answering through rage, or they're organizing. Some of them panic. Some of them are fearful. Some of them give up. And it's such a complicated moment in history, and we're all part of it, whether it affects you directly or not, because if it happens to a person, it's happened to someone's humanity. And I feel like that is the responsibility of poetry, is to be able to capture that humanity so that way you can make an attempt at make a connection. And that connection, once you do it, that's where empathy really comes from.
Hmm. I mean, I agree. I think there's so much data about readers are more empathic and compassionate because they're spending time imagining themselves as other people. And I think it's a different thing when you're just some banker and when you're a guy with a mic reading a poem. You're a different
Yeah.
version of yourself. And I imagine people perceive you differently. I know that people perceive me very differently depending on what I'm doing. Um, I'm just some mom, or I'm someone who cares deeply about stories and other people, and those and people's opinions of those two things can be quite different. So it's, yeah, it's really interesting to me how it changes, like you're saying, when you have a microphone, when you're reading your work, as opposed to just talking.
Yeah, I feel like people, if you have a chance to go to an open mic and you're curious about writing, I feel like that's kind of a great way to get started, is to hear
Mm-hmm.
people's voices.
Mm-hmm.
And because you're kind of hearing the storytelling, and maybe those stories might echo or might match with what you're feeling or thinking about talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And if you see it, then you understand that it exists. So there's a lot of it, there's proof of existence through examples. So if you find a person talking about grief, which I've heard that your book's about, right? And,
Yes.
and so that kind of makes that person feel like, wow, someone is talking about what I'm feeling right now.
Mm-hmm.
It could be about, just motivational stories for your business career or professional, right? By trade, I'm a banker, but I didn't join banking because of numbers or something something like that. It's more about building relationships. And for me, I get to meet people that do all different kinds of things in life, from
Mm-hmm.
from doctors to like entrepreneurs, nonprofits that are working for something directly that affects a community positively. And again, it's just, I'm kind of like walking around into people's stories. And
Mm-hmm.
once I step outside, then I can write down, something that impacted me that day, something that I heard, a family that might come into the
Mm-hmm.
office to
Mm-hmm.
maybe remove someone that passed away, right? Siblings that come in because their parents passed, and dealing with that something that is raw, like a raw emotion. So that's kind of how my worlds kind of go back and forth, because the
Mm-hmm.
poet in me wants to just listen to them and maybe write about them. And then as a banker, it's very similar to it, because I want to be able to listen so I can help them. And I feel like listening is very important in writing. Most of the writing is done through the listening of our environments, of the people that we know, the people that we want to get to know as well.
You must be wonderful at your job. I would like a banker who's also a poet next time that I'm.
I,
I think I would just like whoever is also a poet, because I think you make really wonderful points about listening and being engaged, um, and that and seeing people, right? Like
that's
the day is better and I can feel it even when I'm getting my groceries checked out. Like I can feel the difference between someone who sees me and someone who doesn't. And obviously, not everyone has the bandwidth to do that all day long. And I get that. Like, we're not all able to do that all the time. But I think it does like make a difference when people show you compassion,
yeah,
even in small
yeah.
ways.
Especially, yeah. I'm working on my next book is about heroes.
Mm.
And I want to focus on, because I have a 9-year-old turning 10 this year, and I want to show him some examples of heroes and his community, and how, a teacher can impact your life. I still go back to quotes from my Spanish my Spanish high school teacher. Like
Mm.
sometimes I'm writing and I hear her in the back of my head. I was like, oh, you should look at that metaphor differently, or look for a different simile. And those are people that impact you positively, or
Yeah.
a coach that taught you how to be patient, right? So those are examples of being heroes and kindness. So my book kind of focuses is going to be divided into those chapters, into historical figures and how they still impact your life, to finding inspiration in the day to day, just being kind, being able to find goodness in the day, especially with everything that occurs in a world that is so exposed through social media. I think it's important to have reminders that uh, we're people, we're
Yeah.
humans.
Yeah. I think the person to person interactions are underrated. I think not by everyone, but by many.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
um, I think that's beautiful. I've most of my life felt very similarly to you, Jean-Pierre. Like I think heroes are all around us. And I think the more that and also we get to be our own heroes for ourselves, which has been life changing for me. Like the biggest hero for me in the end has to be me, because I'm the most invested in me. So I got to kind of like show up. Um, but I think sometimes people just feel paralyzed because it feels so overwhelming. And obviously, that's how it's designed to work, so that people will just check out because they
Yeah.
feel like they have no alternative. And yeah, just staying engaged. Like really, if you just like show up in your life and stay engaged, that's big. Just in your day to day existence, and you're kind,
Hmm.
and you take the time. I think so many of us, like, I was just thinking about this the other day. There was a woman at Trader Joe's, and she couldn't find the celery. She asked the woman, which happens to me all the time, right? I don't know. Trader Joe's, they move everything constantly to like keep you on your toes. So where it once was, it is no longer. And it was right next to me. And I said, oh, I think it's right here, and she was lovely and was like, oh, thank you so much. You're so beautiful, just very charming and like
Yeah.
complimentary. And I just thought, like, I think everyone just wants that, to just be able to point something out and be thanked. Like so many people just want that small thing to be acknowledged. It meant so much to me. I was happy to help. And I think most people feel that way. They just don't know
I
how to do
think
it.
so. Yeah, it's if you that's one of those things, or as we pay attention around us, it happens all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and it could be what changes the whole mood of your day.
For
Uh,
sure. And someone else's day, right? Like if
yeah.
that, like you're saying about teachers, they are so powerful both ways.
Mm.
Like, I mean, we all know so many teachers who've turned people off of things. We've all had those
Yeah.
teachers. Um, and it's the same with your day. Yeah, so it matters. I'm tearing up. So anything else about the process of writing this poem, or anything else you'd like to share?
Yeah, I would like to share it, just the power of bilingual storytelling too. In my case, is Spanish and English. So when I was writing this poem, I really wanted to incorporate some Spanish words to it. I actually ended up writing a whole Spanish version of it, and then I
Oh, you
made a
did?
Spanglish version of it, which I'll probably share soon, and then I'll tag you.
Please
Um,
do. I would love to read it.
and yeah, and it's interesting because it flows the same way. There's that's what I like about being able to play around with poetry, and I have the luxury of having two languages that I can kind of borrow words or sounds.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a friend, Lisa, from Pens and Poisoned, and she's very talented. She can write in Italian and French, and she's Russian, and so she can write she's got a poem, and then she's able to kind of adapt it to different languages, and just being able to offer the same message to a larger audience, I feel like that's great. A lot of the poets that I follow, if they don't do their own work with one language, they do offer a translation, and I think that that's important.
Also, I think I agree. And also, I think each language has its own music, right? So you just have more tools available to you when you are writing in more than one language. And what an amazing thing to have that many languages at your disposal. I just love listening to languages, and I've dabbled in many, but I'm certainly not fluent. But they just always bring me a lot of joy.
There's
Like,
if you ever go on YouTube and you find like French poets and then just do the subtitles at the bottom,
mm-hmm,
I mean you can just kind of let yourself be carried by the sound of the
mm,
poem,
yeah.
and then you can kind of then you let the words kind of give it a different meaning. But if you don't speak Spanish and you hear my poems in Spanish, or it's anyone's really, you can do the same, because I used to do that for English. Like I used to listen to songs and
Mm-hmm,
not understand what they were saying,
mm-hmm.
and but some of the songs that I probably know more English songs that I know Spanish songs, and it's because I just carried along with the way that a certain voice uses a word, and it just kind of entangles around you. And yeah,
Well, it's like
but
when you sing along to a song, you don't know the words. I mean, that happens even in your native language, right? I mean, sometimes you
Mhm.
just sing along, you don't really know the words. And I was smiling because we hosted some students from Japan before the pandemic, and we were in the car listening to music, and they knew all the songs. They didn't really know the words, but they knew all the songs, and they sang along, and it was just so joyful. Like, it was just
yeah.
so wonderful, and they were in no way like
Mhm.
apologetic that they didn't know the right words, and I just felt like that was such a magic.
I think that's the
I
coolest thing about art, right? That
Yeah,
you find it in every culture, like every
yeah,
culture, every country,
yes,
every community is gonna have art, it's gonna have music. Uh, the more there is available, the more empathy shows up, because
I
again,
agree.
you're showing who you are, and
Yeah,
authenticity is important, and that's how it shows.
yeah, and it creates
Mhm.
community and connections, right? Like you were
Yeah.
saying, you listen to someone's poem and it provides a mirror or a window, and you start making those connections, and you feel less alone, and that's when things really start to change. At least they did for me. The less alone I felt,
Mhm.
the less shame I felt, the less erased I felt.
Mhm.
It all builds on each other. Um,
Yeah, it grounds you, right? And then it
yeah.
allows you to dream. So that's the cool thing. Um, the
Yes.
my latest book is called Love Between Downpours,
Mm-hmm.
which is Amor entre aguaceros, and I wanted this one to be Spanish version on one page, and then the English next to it,
I love that.
because I wanted the poems to talk to each other. So
Yeah.
they're not literal translations. Some of them are very close just because the words do apply in that manner.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted it to be this way. So my son that doesn't speak Spanish can read it in English, and then my mom can read it in Spanish. And then
Yeah.
they can talk about it. And then, but I wanted that to be available to them, because I grew up in communities where the kids were translating what the parents needed,
Yeah.
and the last time I was at the LA Times Books Festival, this mom and daughter came to buy one of my books, and the mom bought it, and she said, "Well, I want a Spanish book," and then the daughter said, I want an English one so we can trade," and they and I'm like, well, I happen to have one that has both of them, but it was
Um,
beautiful because it's they're just trying to bridge
mm-hmm.
experiences, and that doesn't have to be just be about immigration. It can be about a lot of things. It could be age differences, or even ideologically. I think it's important to be open minded, to be exposed to other ideas, and poetry in this case really serves its purpose.
I agree. You're a great ambassador for poetry, Jean-Pierre.
Uh,
um, well, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate your time and your poem, and this has been um, wonderful, as it always is. And it's like always particularly sweet when the world feels very overwhelming to have these moments of
Yeah, no, I
clarity.
appreciate the opportunity, and I'm happy that people are going to be able to join. The people that joined, thank you for joining, and
Yes, thank
then
you so much. And Sonia did say, I was thinking the same thing when I said the thing about I wish you would be my banker. So she felt the she felt the same way.
yeah, poet and banker, that's an interesting mix. But
That's
most
great.
bankers will have a second, everyone's got their own passion. It's just
Yep.
how you use it. And like, yeah, I know you were talking about the baker. Actually, um, uh, there's a baker I know that is a singer. So I knew the
Mm,
I would go in the mornings and the guy's
mm,
singing, and I'm like, okay, cool. He's
mm.
bringing what he loves to his trade, and that's how you know the food's gonna taste good.
Yes, because it's
Yeah,
filled with love.
yeah, hmm
Yep. Okay, well, have a lovely day. Thank you again.
yeah. Thank you guys.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye.